I don't remember sitting down at the sewing machine the first time. It was just a way of life in our home. We grew up with a sewing machine and everyone's sewing. I've been sewing forever. I've been quilting for over 20 years, and in the process of that quilting, I discovered that the triangle units were frustrating in the quilts, and I loved the quilts with all of the stars. And I just thought there had to be a better way to create these quilts without all the hassle and the frustration of creating those triangle units. And in the process of that, I came up with the square and a square technique. And since I've been doing the square and a square technique, I have made more accurate quilts and more quilts, more fun. And it's just so exciting to be able to create quilts that I normally couldn't have done using the square and a square technique. Now, the first 5 years that I quilted, I created 200 quilts, and that was the old way. And a lot of those I did for sales and for commissions, so I didn't wind up getting to keep them. But since I've been doing the square and a square technique, I have acquired a lot of quilts, and of course you get to see a lot of those in the books. But so many times people think, well, I only have 1 or 2 or 3 beds, and if I want to make more quilts, what will I do with those quilts? Well, I think that you can tell that the Living with Quilts section, you can see some really cool ways that you can live and decorate with your quilts. Now, first of all, I don't think that a quilt has to be a certain size or has to fit in a certain room. Lots of times we buy fabric just because we love that piece of fabric, and your friends will say, well, what are you going to do with that? Well, you don't know, you just want to add it to your stash, and it may be a long time before you come back to it to actually build the quilt that you're working on. But it's hard to get more if you decide that you want to make that a big size quilt for a bed. Lots of times I am either finished with a project because I'm tired and through working on it, or I've run out of fabric, and then that quilt is just whatever size that it turns out to be. So sometimes it's like, well, it won't fit on a bed, what do I do with it? They're great to lay across the ends of couches, and of course a quilt on the back of a couch is just a natural and a great place to put a large one. But I think you can see how you can hang them over banisters and inside little drawers on cabinets. And quilt racks always look great in a corner somewhere behind a chair or next to a table. Don't be afraid to even put your quilts on tables and actually use them as tablecloths. Quilts are just a warm, cozy, natural way and a natural thing to have in your home. I think that it's a lot of fun to go with friends to antique shops or flea markets. You can find a lot of neat things to bring home and accent the quilts with or set with quilts. I'm sure that a lot of you that sew have all types of little crafty things that you've made, from the little dolls to the little jointed bears, and even the placemats and tablecloths. Even pot holders are great to make out of your quilting things. But quilts just look great everywhere and anywhere that you want to put them. I really like to find tables that have big open parts underneath so that you can just stack up stacks and stacks of quilts. I remember when I first started sewing, I saw a display of an old antique cabinet that was just stacked full of beautiful quilts. And I thought, oh, how would I ever get enough quilts to stack up in a cabinet? And now I'm always looking for a new place to put a quilt because there's just always so many around. But I think that it's just a fun and easy way to display your things that you do. If you were a painter, you would use your paintings to hang on the wall to display your home. So find ways in your home to display your quilts so that you can be living with quilts. And with the square and a square system, you'll be able to make your quilts so fast and speedy and have a great time doing it the square and a square way. And perfecting your patchwork with the square and a square technique is really the best way to do it.